Hey guys, Eric Kaplan here and welcome back. I wanted to give you another free sample lesson from our Back to Basics program. If you have any issues slicing your driver, you come over the top, or you're finding that you're losing distance as you age, this is the exact lesson that you've been looking for, because we're going to be covering the nuances of the driver setup, how to create towering shots with less spin that carry forever. We're also going to be diving into the nuances of the setup that was developed by Allison TG. We're going to talk about how to get into the box, the exact position of your shoulder blades, your sternum, as well as your abs. So we'll unlock and improve how you transfer energy into the back of the golf ball for massive distance without swinging any harder. So you're not going to want to miss that. And again, if you do like this video, don't forget to click the like button if you want to subscribe to our channel. That way you'll be notified every single time we drop another video lesson, you'll be notified first. And if you do have any questions about the stuff we talk about today, by all means, drop them in the comment section below. It gets in the next 24 hours or less. And if you do want to dive into the advanced course, we're going to be going through the nuances of secondary tilt. We're going to show you how changing secondary tilt will help you control trajectory, whether you want to hit towering high iron shots or stingers. You can do it by making one simple posture change. We'll also be diving into the nuances of grip, where we're going to show you how to match up your grip to your swing style as well as your body type. You're not going to want to miss it. But again, until that, go and check out this video. Now, if you slice your driver, come over the top, this is the exact video lesson you've been looking for. Welcome to day 2 of your at-home swing transformation experience. I'm your coach, Eric Kaplan, and what we're talking about today is the second layer of the swing fundamental pyramid. And so what we talked about so far yesterday is we've dove into what is called the primary tilt of the golf swing. You know, how to get the spine in a more neutral position to facilitate rotation, taking the pressure off your low back. The proper stance width being based upon the position of your hips. As well as that fact that we want the weight over the ankles when we play golf, not on the ball's feet. That would, of course, cause us to come up and out of our posture, because the major thesis of this program is the fact that there's no such thing as swing faults, just missing fundamentals. For us to literally prescribe the right fundamental in the right sequence, we can overcome any issue in the golf swing. This is not about unlearning the old patterns that you might have had, but rather appreciating there might have been deficiencies of the actual fundamentals that we're looking for. And so what we did yesterday in the advanced program is we talked about how different clubs require different degrees of tilt. We also talked about the exact position in terms of where the arm should be relative to the body. But those are pieces that are for the advanced program. I don't want to belabor them too much when we talk about just the grassroots fundamentals that we need to be employing today with driver to make sure that we're optimizing our angle of attack, hit the ball literally further than we ever thought possible. Now, when it comes to driver, this is certainly called a specialty club, not because we're changing our stance width, but rather because the ball is off the tee, we're catching it on the way up. Now, for this reason, a very common mistake that I see, referencing back to, of course, that pyramid, is a loss of what's called scapular engagement as well as secondary tilt of the spine. And of course, this will impact your alignment as well as your grip, and we're going to talk about that right now. So the driver ball position certainly will be a little bit more forward because the ball is off fatigue, because we're catching it on the way up. Now, if we're not careful, what happens as a result of this, ball position's further up, we just throw our right hand on the club. And so when we just throw our trail hands on the club, first of all, what happens to the alignment of the shoulders? My shoulders are pointing left. My shoulders would be considered what's called open. And so that's going to throw off a lot of things over the course of my swing. We correct that not by protracting that lead shoulder, but rather by understanding exactly where the shoulder should be relative to their sockets. And so a very important element of what we talk about here at Axis Golf is a term coined by Allison TG, who of course is the founder of the anatomical collapse, which is the importance of getting into what's called the muscles of the box. Now, the way that we do that, and I want you while at home to lift your shoulders up and drop them down. When your shoulders are up or forward or protracted, you're literally turning on muscles that cause you to come more over the top in the downswing. If we drop the shoulders, we're engaging the muscles of the core. These are actually more powerful muscles that will facilitate an improved transfer of energy from your body through the club into the back of the golf ball. Now, where I first stumbled into a similar concept in the putting stroke, which is what we talk about in the advanced program, is actually a slightly different position of the shoulder blades when we're putting versus the full swing. Important nuance in the fact that when we're putting, we want to feel the shoulders much more pinched back or retracted, whereby in the full swing, we want them much more depressed, but we're going to cover that in the advanced drill today. But talking about that, we see a look at aesthetically some of these players on tour that are longer than others. You know, a player like Dustin Johnson versus Zach Johnson, we'll see at the top of their swing, there's a much bigger gap between here and there. And so what we see is for a player like Zach Johnson, who might be a little bit shorter, the shoulder kind of lifts up a little bit, and we see a disconnect from the bigger muscles of his core. The cool thing about this is what we talked about yesterday, which is this whole idea of hinging the thighs back, engages hamstring and glutes. By having my shoulders depressed, I have my lats, my obliques, literally connecting the two halves of my body. Where we might have been yesterday was on the balls of our feet and protracted. That's engaging muscles of here and there. These are disconnected muscle groups. So we'd have to go ahead and reroute to find ourselves with the same what's called posterior activation to move the body much more optimally when it comes to transferring energy from the two halves of the body back to the back of the golf ball. So of course, we want to maintain this idea of scapular depression, and we also want to engage the abs a little bit while the spine is up in neutral. And of course, the reason why we started yesterday talking about neutral spine is because for as long as my spine angle looks like this, it's very difficult to get my shoulders retracted, let alone depressed. Our spine has to be neutral first for that to happen. Now, of course, we find ourselves with a very interesting problem, which is how we solve the conversation of how much secondary tilt we need, which is from this position right here, how do I get my right hand to the club if my shoulders are engaged or if I'm in the box? And so what we need with driver to keep the forearms in alignment is to bump our hip, to drop the shoulder, to get our trail hand to the club. How much tilt we need is, of course, based upon ball position as well as body type. And this is where most women get yet again thrown under the bus regarding golf instruction. Because somebody will say, okay, let's say that somebody like Dolly Parton comes by for a lesson, and God, I really hope she does one day. She would certainly have asked the question, do I go over or under her very obvious anatomy? To what point I would say, okay, Dolly, sweetheart, you don't need to worry about that as long as you have secondary tilt. That's how you get the right hand to the club. Now, the benefits of this with driver are multiple in that this idea of creating secondary tilt is going to shallow out the angle of attack, help me hit more up on the ball, decrease the spin, increase the launch. You might find that you hit the ball 20 yards further just by incorporating this piece. Now, what I do want to share with you is this whole idea of secondary tilt is not a novel concept. One of my idols growing up was a guy named Alex Morrison, who was actually the guy who taught Jack Rout, the guy who eventually taught Jack Nicklaus. And so he actually talked about, let me bring this a little bit closer so you can see this because this is really cool. It's a book from 1928. He actually talks about this whole process of setting up with the left hand on the club first and bumping the hip until the hand gets to the club. So these are concepts that have certainly been around, but what I would say is this. If you're creating secondary tilt with driver without being in the box, you're gift wrapping a present to yourself and not giving yourself the gift. So the sequence would be stand up straight, thighs hinge back, depress the shoulders, slightly contract the abs, tilt until the hand gets to the club. Now, the reason why we want to tilt by bumping the hip and not by dropping the upper body back or creating what's called spinal flexion is when I drop this back, it moves the bottom of the arc back. Also can force your weight to stay too much on your back foot over the course of your downswing, leading to heavy shots. And so when I bump my hip towards the target, that's what causes my right shoulder to drop. It's not this action here. The spine stays neutral, we tilt. A lot of golfers might have an issue with sciatica over the course of their golf swing for one of two reasons. First of all, they might be making a golf swing where they are here and having to bump the hip aggressively towards the target, causing a lot of compression of the SI joint. And of course, the left SI joint locks up. The right side is going to open up more, which is where typically it's felt more on the right side, kind of drifting down the leg. By us presetting that, it's one less thing for us to worry about, which is certainly a good thing. And so that would be reason number two. It also forces us to keep the shoulders in alignment with the feet, whereby if I don't know how to have secondary tilt with driver, the hand just comes over. If I depress the shoulders, tilt is what allows my right hand to get to the club. What you'll also notice is this tilt away from the target by virtue of bumping my hip forward. My feet are still weight distribution-wise 50-50 here. I still have equal weight right foot versus left foot because the shoulder drops in proportion, the hip bumping forward. My sternum has not moved. And so if I want to hit the ball higher, what we're going to talk about in the advanced drills program is I can add more tilt. What we're going to talk about also is how we can actually hit iron shots from what's called negative tilt, hit these really low, beautiful cuts based upon the fact that by moving the hips back this way, it creates a more descending angle of attack, which is useful from fairway bunkers, deep rough, as well as how to create a more out impact at these little beautiful low bullet cuts that have a bunch of spin on them, which is again a cool shot we'll talk about in just a little bit. But the thing that we're going to talk about here that's going to add a lot more power is this whole idea of pressure shifting. And so if I create this tilt to my spine, I want you to imagine for a moment the Leaning Tower of Pisa. The question, of course, is not if but when the tower will fall. And when it falls, it's certainly going to fall this way. So if I create this tilt in my spine, my mass is going to want to load into that right heel on the way back. And so for a lot of us who might suffer from reverse pivoting, it might be a result of my hand coming over, me setting up with improper negative tilt with a driver, and cause me to go like this, which is also going to cause a steep angle of attack potential on the way down, or me falling back in transition. Either way, we can mitigate a lot of these issues just by understanding that we want to create with driver a slight amount of secondary tilt until the right hand gets the club. Again, we're only talking about 4 to 8 degrees based on different body types. The bigger chest that somebody is, the bigger arm somebody is, the more they're going to require. A guy like Adam Scott, who's very slimly built, aesthetically requires very little. And again, every great ball striker in the world does get back to this position at impact. The question is, do they sit up there? And what I saw growing up helping a lot of golfers with Parkinson's on the golf course is the fewer moving parts they had, the more consistent they were. And of course, what I want to touch upon a little bit is not just alignment as well as ball position, with driver being a little bit more forward in the advanced program, but also what we want to do in terms of the grip. Because a lot of people would say when you play golf, you want to have a neutral grip, and they'll define that to be showing 2 knuckles of your lead hand. I consider that to be very arbitrary. Because again, in that same vein, that pro might tell you, you want to grip the club based on the way your arms hang. Well, the way your arms hang is based upon your posture and where your shoulders are. And so for as long as we are pinched back and engaged, I'm going to see a grip that looks more like this. If my shoulders are rounded, I'm going to see 4 knuckles. So one of the worst things a pro could tell you is if you are in a position where you have a little bit more curvature of the spine, you're a little bit more relaxed in the shoulders, less engaged, we're going to see a very strong grip. Because you might have a pattern where you come up and out of the posture a little bit, you would be well served to have a matchup of having a stronger grip based on those movement patterns. If you're in this position, a pro says that's a bad grip, show less knuckles by just turning the hand over, you're going to come up and out of your shot with an open face. You're going to miss it right off the planet. So again, it's talking about what's the order of operations by which we need to make a change. Because again, there's a lot of really knowledgeable pros out there, but what I would say yet again emphatically is the right information at the wrong time is still the wrong information. And again, a lot of people will say I have an issue coming over the top. Well, I'll say, okay, that's the symptom. Is the thing that's causing it to happen is a loss of scapular engagement and secondary tilt. Because for as long as you have the shoulders depressed and a little bit of this tilt to the spine, it literally is impossible for us to come over the top, because by definition, over the top is a loss of being in the box, to use Allison's terms, and a loss of secondary tilt. So by correcting those pieces, we can mitigate a lot of the other issues over the course of the golf swing. And so what we're going to dive into tomorrow, go ahead and if you can, cue up that pyramid, is we're going to talk about rotation. We're going to talk about what is the optimal way to start your swing. But again, if we've not built the building block so far of having the spine in neutral, we could not talk about the depression of the shoulder blades. We cannot tomorrow talk about rotation efficiently if we've not done the homework today, by which the shoulders, we're showing you how to create a position by which they stay in a more neutral position here versus being there. Because for as long as, even if your spine is in neutral and your shoulders look like this, rotation becomes very difficult. And the difficult part about this is we all live our life that way. We're holding our cell phone at a computer. So golf might be the opportunity for all of us to go ahead and reset our posture in a better way. And so again, if you're a member of Access Golf, be sure to check out our private Facebook page, the Swing Genome Project. From there, be able to upload a video of your swing for me as well as the other certified instructors to critique it, as well as we're going to be doing a lot of live training and some Q&A sessions. That way, again, if you are a member, we can add even more polish, more drills for you to transform your swing from home. And again, in the advanced course, we're going to be talking about today some deeper elements of what it means to be in the box. We're going to talk about how you can leverage different tilts, in the golf swing to control different ball flights, as well as exactly how you should grip the club in terms of what's the position in the hands we want to see, and are there different ones that are optimal based on different swings that you're looking to create. Can't wait to see you there. Hope we're making a little bit of sense so far, that you're enjoying the course. And if you are, if you feel privy, go ahead and share it with your friends, because we'd love to have more people speaking the same language and better enjoying this game that we love by improving their scores. Thanks so much. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that lesson. I know it's going to unlock massive amount of distance as well as consistency to your tee shots. And again, if you did like the video, go and click the like button below. And if you want to be notified every single time we release a new video, go and click the subscribe button below. And if you did have any questions or comments about the stuff we talked about today, drop them in the comment section below. I'll answer them in the next 24 hours. And if you did want to dive into the advanced course with us, there's a link in the description below. In the advanced course, we'll be covering how to control trajectory with secondary tilt, how to match up your grip with your body type as well as your swing faults. Again, we're going to be covering exactly how you want to hold the club, whether it be in the fingers, in the palms, what's optimal for you. And again, in the advanced course, we'll also include drills for multiple major champions. Swing speed specialists will include more neuroplasticity drills to help rewire your swing from home, and a whole bunch of other really cool stuff. So again, don't forget to check that out. And again, hope you enjoyed this lesson today.